What's going on, people of the internet? Hyperchaotic here with a KRR, and welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time visiting my channel. In today's video, we got a bit of good news, ladies and gentlemen. While I was just sitting around listening to some videos in the background on YouTube, some commentaries here and there, figuring out what my next topic was going to be for the next video I wanted to do, I stumbled onto this video across my home feed. Now, I'm going to link it in the description down below if you would like to see it for yourself. But a general quick summary of it, this creator goes over how the subscription model is slowly dying. And particularly, it's slowly dying for digital and physical goods in cases where people are trying to take away the option of ownership in favor of subscription models. They're trying to force you in a situation where renting is your only option. Now, this really doesn't include stuff like, he does kind of touch on this stuff a little bit. And when it comes to stuff like streaming services or Xbox Pass, they are slowly hurting in and of themselves, though I wouldn't say they're slowly dying when it comes to the subscription model. Because with streaming services in their prime, once upon a time, they used to be more convenient than pirating, and to an extent, more convenient than ownership. If you're just worried about consuming your media, seeing what's latest, seeing what you've been missing out, and you're not too worried about ownership, or you don't want to regret your purchase because you don't know what you're going to like yet. And in the case of streaming services like Netflix and Hulu, they were meant to be convenient. You get films right there at the tip of your fingers with your remote control. You don't have to go out and rent a DVD, buy a DVD, or order one, which Netflix did once upon a time. That's what used to be convenient for them. And then when they started doing streaming, it was way more convenient. You could go to a rental service and you could rent a few movies for $2 to $3 maybe. You can buy a singular film for maybe $15 to $20, maybe $10 at the bargain bin. Or you could hop onto a streaming rental service for like $12 to $15 a month, and you got unlimited access to their entire library of films and shows. Originally all licensed, but over time with Netflix came some originals. Of course, nowadays, rental stores are barely options as far as media goes, because Netflix and other streaming services exist, so you're not going to Blockbuster anymore. That store has almost completely died off. And even stuff like, what are they called? How am I forgetting them? I grew up with them. GameStop are slowly dying because you can just buy your games from the store on your console. Well, that, and of course Game Pass, we are trying to keep it subscription models in this case. But obviously you can purchase from home or rent from home at the access of your console. In the case of Game Pass or anything similar, you still have the option to purchase. But renting is an option if you really don't have the money for a full priced game. Not to mention you get access to other games you could try out all at once. You don't like that game? Don't regret your purchase, just try the next one. And just like with Netflix, just like with Hulu, you get access to their whole entire library. What's making them less and less convenient are the games and the films and the TV shows that they're losing access to that are no longer in their library. Maybe they don't have access to the license to them anymore, or they did some dipshit move and removed their own originals. Not to mention they're raising the prices. So smaller library, higher price. People feel like it's more convenient now to just pirate, especially in the cases where even if you pay to stream anyways, now you get ads. Now you get freaking ads, which is one of the things people wanted to avoid with paying for streaming. No ads. You can watch your shows there instead of watching them on television and getting a shit ton of ads. Now it's just becoming basic cable. Especially when you have to have subscriptions to multiple services because what you want is on a completely different service. So those subscription models are also hurting for films, sorry for my stuttering, films, TV shows, and gaming. But that's because they're making it less convenient than pirating or just choosing one you want and purchasing it. So similar situation, but not exactly the same ballpark with these other subscription models that are slowly dying because they're taking away the option for ownership rather than just becoming less convenient versus owning, which is still an option for like Game Pass, or they never really offered it in the first place. It was just access to their entire library and meant to be easier than piracy. Now, when it comes to our media, there is an issue that, just like with these other subscription models, they have the problem where they're slowly taking away our option for true full-blown ownership in favor of renting. But compared to the subscription model, which is monthly, this one's a one-time permanent rental. Technically, you get to keep it as long as the corporation says you get to keep it, as long as they continue to provide service, or for as long as the company exists and doesn't go under, and maybe that media or program becomes abandoned where no longer supported, especially if it requires internet to use, even though it should have the ability to function without it, like a video or photo editor or a single player video game. And that's DRMs and user license agreements. Now, I could already hear some people say, but HK, with Xbox Pass, you can download the games if you don't have the internet for streaming, and, well, you don't get to keep it if you stop paying. No shit, but you're renting. That's no different if you were to rent a physical copy from the store. They technically can't stop you from still using it beyond the next month without paying, but the second you take it back, you're going to get a freaking fee for that, and they could probably ban you from renting from them anymore. Point being is, physical or digital, if you're renting, you never got to keep it in the first place. It doesn't matter if it's physically there in your hands. If you rented it, it's not your property. It is your property if you purchase it and have a receipt. Unless there's DRMs and user license agreements, which become exceptions to the rule. These essentially turn one-time purchases into full-time, lifetime rentals. Again, you still get to keep it as long as the corporation allows you to. Now, lately, when it comes to media in general, from film to gaming, I've been hearing a lot of complaints about you will own nothing and be happy with it when it comes to subscription models. But those really aren't the problem. It's DRMs and user license agreements. These special little fucking programs or user license agreements, these special contracts, basically, terms and agreements, they're basically contracts that you agree to. Digital contracts that nobody reads. Admittedly, I don't even read them. They're too fucking long and full of technical jargon because it's literally a legal contract written in legalese that they know you won't read so they can screw you over later on. In a world with options like renting and buying, renting doesn't prevent you from owning when you could purchase it. But if your purchase doesn't actually count as owning, because again, user license agreements, DRMs, then essentially your options are just renting monthly or rent for a lifetime until they decide to take it away. So in one way, form, or fashion, some corporations out there are trying to shove us into a situation where we can rent only. But they're either trying to do it in the way of the subscription model or DRMs and ULAs. Now, thankfully, the subscription model is dying because stuff with the streaming services, they're not more convenient than piracy anymore. Stuff with like renting, let's say Photoshop or Adobe Animator or effects, They took away your option to actually own. But with media like films and video games, people barely talk about DRMs and ULAs that are the true culprit for why we won't be able to own our media. We're winning the fight against subscription models. We're losing the fight against DRMs and ULAs. We're winning the battle, but we'll lose the war if you keep ignoring the other fucking front. Though as long as people continue with piracy, or just simply keeping their wallets closed and tucked away in their pockets, over time we could win the battle against DRMs and ULAs as well. But the only way that's going to happen is if people spread awareness on how important that is and follow up with, again, closing your wallets or even piracy. Because at the end of the day, if buying ain't owning, then piracy ain't stealing. Now really quickly, right before I end the video, I honestly want to point to the main source of the problem for why we're here in the first place, in this situation with subscription models, DRMs, and ULAs. But before I say this, I must make this very freaking clear. I am speaking here in general terms. I am pointing no fingers at any sort of individuals because I have no individuals to point at to begin with. So I am pointing the finger at the general audience, general user base, general consumer market, or your general consumer. And I will also be using the term you, Y-O-U, in general terms. And by no means should you take what I say next as a personal attack against you, because I don't even know who the fuck you are. And simply put, if it does not apply, then let it fly. If you are not who I am talking about, then you have no reason to get offended. But the main culprit, the main ones to blame, the ones at fault for why we're here in this situation in the first place, is the consumer base who paid for this shit in the first place, who fell for it, who gave in and opened their wallets for subscription models and for media with DRMs and ULAs. Now back in the beginning when ULAs started becoming a thing, and to an extent DRMs, I'll catch the average consumer a break. We didn't all know what the hell that was, and in the case of ULAs, even I admitted, I don't read that shit and I don't want to. However, we can always look up whether or not a media or program we want to download and own may have them. We don't have to read all that shit through. We just need to know if it has it or not. And if it does, avoid it like the plague. If it doesn't, that's the green light. We're good to go. We'll actually own it if we buy it. Now, I must put an asterisk. I must admit, a ULA doesn't inherently mean you will not own your media or program. It really just depends on the wording and whether or not they actually allow you to own it, even after services are no longer provided. But more often than not nowadays, it is used as a contract to lock you in. Now, originally, I wanted to actually talk about this general subject with subscription models back with the whole situation, the whole backlash around Adobe Animate when they plan to stop providing services in 2027, 2029 for big professional users. But they backtracked when there was a lot of backlash from the entire animation industry. Big professionals, medium professionals, small, indie, and hobbyists. Because the very thing that people should have been concerned about with such subscription models, and the very reason why they should have avoided them in the first place, is the fact that they can take that shit away at any time. And it's not like there aren't other options out there that allow you to own your shit. It is sometimes people don't want to try them because they're not used to them, or in all fairness, sometimes they just don't have the necessary tools you need. But at no point should you ever fucking support these subscription models. Now, many of those animators out there are now looking into new alternatives because there are better alternatives out there. And they don't want to deal with this shit again in the future, because if Adobe wanted to, they could try this shit again later on when they think everybody has forgotten all about it. And any other programmer, service provider for that matter of fact, that does something similar to Adobe can do the exact same thing if they also provide subscription models, or again, DRMs and ULAs. They can all do the same shit. Even if it's a one-time purchase, they can still do the same thing to you. And by you, as a consumer, paying for that shit in the first place, you're rewarding them for it. As that one quote from The Walking Dead goes from Negan, they just slip their dick down y'all's throats, and with your wallets, y'all thank them for it. Yes, that's not the original quote. I did have to edit it a bit for this circumstance, but I think you get the picture. But y'all that fell for the shit, you're the hooker that's literally paying to suck their dick. Let that sink in. And I want to say I feel bad for the animators out there, or that I would ever feel bad for video creators out there, or photo creators out there in the near future if this ever happened to them with their programs. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fucking don't, because I avoid that shit as much as possible. What's y'all's excuse? Oh, but they don't have that tool. I need it for work. No. Oh, look, they're fucking me over anyways by trying to take it away from me. There goes my job. There goes my hobby. Now I gotta look for one anyway, so you might as fucking well. They can do that to you at any point in time. And in the case of digital, or even some cases physical media that do include DRMs and ULAs, simply do not support them. And hey, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. Now look, in the cases of streaming services and even Game Pass, I could understand if you still see somewhat of a benefit to it. You still get an abundance of movies and TV shows to watch, ignoring the ads, or if you have the money to pay for the higher tiers, you still get more than if you were to buy all that shit individually, let's be honest. And same for Game Pass. They now rose that shit to like, what is that, $20? Almost $30 now? That's fucking crazy, dude. But a single video game can be $60. And with Game Pass and other similar services, you still have the option to play hundreds of games and move on to the next one if you don't like the one you're currently playing. I'm not going to be honest, moving forward, I'm probably still going to use the Game Pass here and there. When I have the money, because I ain't got fucking $30 to pay every single month. It'll probably be every 2 to 3 months now, 3 to 4 if I'm really struggling. But I'm still going to hop on to Game Pass every now and then to play games I want to try but I don't want to keep. Or try something new and find something I do want to keep. And then I'll buy it on my Xbox or I'll buy it on my Steam Deck. More likely on my Steam Deck because, duh, Steam deals. And let's not forget about mods. But yeah, if we want to keep winning the war on both fronts, it's really just simple. Close your wallet and put that shit back into your fucking pocket. Don't give them a motherfucking thing because that's rewarding them. Otherwise, your complaints mean nothing. They run hollow. Your actions speak louder than words. Do not support studios that utilize DRMs and ULAs to screw you over. And if you really want it that bad, yo ho ho, hail the 7 digital C's. Resort to what I originally called one of the 2 P's in a short while back that I'm now going to call the 3 P's. Pirate or purchase, if owning is still an option of course, or put it away. And by put it away, I am once again referring to your wallet. If you can own, purchase, if not pirate, or put it away. Resort to the 3 P's. And remember, in the case of our media, if you still have the option to purchase it and actually own it, subscription models are not what's preventing you from owning. Being forced into the box of renting only is what's preventing you from owning. DRMs and ULAs are preventing you from owning. Having the option to rent monthly or rent permanently until they decide to take it away is what's preventing you from owning. Being forced into the option of renting only. So if you want to own, you purchase or pirate. With that said, that's all I have for today. Those are my full thoughts on the subject, and I'm probably not going to visit it again for a very long time. Which is partially why this video is so long. I want to get into all the details, nitty gritty, and nuance. So very rarely ever expect a short video on this channel, unless it's literally a short. With that said, if you've enjoyed this video and this was some actual good news, make sure to leave a like on the video, and feel free to check out that other creator if you would like to. Once again, they will be linked in the description down below. Shout out to them for bringing the good news. If not, leave a dislike and a comment telling me why, because any and all interaction is good for my channel and the algorithm, and any and all criticism can help me get better. And of course, if you did enjoy, subscribe to add a little dose of chaos in your life. If not, please leave your dislikes, because they do matter, and I appreciate your time, even if you didn't enjoy it. I really do. HK out and have a good one.